What's up, everybody? Nick Gumpert here with Remax Top Producers. Wanted to shed some light on this topic, revisit it. I had a post there in late April. Check that out. Created a blog post with this. Nonetheless, wanted to create a video now. Why we're not in a housing bubble and it's not ready to pop anytime soon. Because again, there's nothing to pop. So I wanted to shed some light, not just share objective information, but also some context behind some of these graphs and pieces that I wanted to share with you today. If you know anybody that can benefit from this, share it. Share with them the information. I'm happy to have this information go out to anyone and everyone that may think differently, because I think it's important where we get our information from. And again, when we have something of value, share it. Wanted to start with this one. Home price appreciation since World War II. Why is World War II significant? It's because at that time we started to build up our inventory for GIs coming home from the war. And it became a really important asset people figured out to invest in. So this shows you we really had only one significant downturn in our time for houses, and that was in the mid-2000s. And now in hindsight, we have better answers as to why that happened and what exactly happened. Number one, lending practices. We didn't have to verify income. We didn't have to verify assets. Number two, people cashed out on their homes. They took out the equity, which isn't a bad thing. What is a bad thing is how we choose to use that. In the mid-2000s, a lot of people chose to use it to go on vacations, to buy things like jet skis, four-wheelers, just extra stuff. So it made it difficult for that reason, and we saw a big drawback of that. So in future graphs here, I'm going to show you exactly where we are today, taking some of those examples that I just painted a picture on, lending and cashing out, in addition to some other pieces. So again, in the mid-2000s, we had over 9 million people in forbearance and ended up foreclosing on their homes. That's another graph I'll get to here shortly to show you where exactly we're at today. But again, since World War II, you can see housing really had just one significant downturn. And overall, we've only had two downturns. We had a small one there in the early 90s. And those are the facts being the facts. So home price forecasts. Here's another reason why the facts just don't add up for us being in a housing bubble and for it to pop anytime soon. The experts, no experts in the field are currently saying we expect a depreciation in home prices. Not to mind you, for the third time in our history. It's not projected to happen this year anyway, in 2022. And you can clearly see, looking at the top 7 to get information from, where they gauge things, whether it's the pessimistic side of 5% or the optimistic side at almost 11%, or is it somewhere in between? Nonetheless, home prices are expected to continue to rise here in 2022. A driving force behind that, you guessed it, probably supply. Forbearance number edges downward. What is forbearance? Forbearance is those that are on the brink of having to foreclose. Monthly number of loans in active forbearance by the millions is what this graph shows. And so this tells you, since May 2020, the number of those in forbearance has declined. COVID, it put a lot of people in a challenging spot, in a strange spot. People move into a forbearance space where they talk with their lender, and can they get payments added to the back end of their loan? Can they create a payment that becomes a little bit more affordable? This, again, clearly shows you where we're at currently. We're in a good place. We're in a good place. We're not seeing a lot of foreclosures hit the market. And nonetheless, this kind of puts a visual on exactly where we are today. And that gives you April 2022 numbers. Loans upon existing forbearance program. So let's look at that. What does that really entail? Well, 37% who went into forbearance have now paid in full. Almost 45% had workouts created and repayment plans in the works. So again, lenders are so much more willing today to work with those that are struggling to make payments. Again, so long as there's a clear line of communication there. And then you have about 18% who are still in trouble. And unfortunately, this is just a part of any market, any housing market really. Nonetheless, here paints a picture on where we're at currently with those that have been struggling through COVID and even up until to today. And that dates it back to June 2020 is when this tracking started for these specific graphs that I'm sharing with you today. Foreclosure activity at an all-time low. not an all-time high, and it's not projected to get there anytime soon. And you can see here numbers. Well, might we get there? Again, this dates us back to 2005, right? And you can see the peak years there of where we're at. Why are we so low? And why are we projected not to get back to where we were? Well, I said in the beginning, lending practices. You have to qualify to get into the payments that you're about to take on. So lending practices alone are putting us in such a different and better place than where we were in the mid 2000s. So lending has really helped drive down foreclosures and is a big reason why we're not going to see a flood of the market when it comes to foreclosures, because again, their standards have improved significantly since the mid 2000s. Lending standards. This goes here kind of digs into a specific niche within the lending world, and it deals with credit scores. Can you get a loan if you have a lower credit score than 620? Yes. What does it mean? It means you're more risky, which means your interest rate is going to be higher. So you can see here volume of loans for those with a credit score of 620 or below. Again, you see in the early and mid 2000s, we had a lot of risky loans going out. You see where we're at today. Such a different place than where we were, right? And that's just sharing numbers with you. And again, if you know someone else who can benefit from this, feel free to share away. Percentage of ARMs at record lows. What are ARMs? Adjustable rate mortgage. Why does that matter? Because there again, you see in the mid 2000s, it was used 34, 37, and 33% of the time for all mortgages. Nowadays, less than 2%, right? That's not to say ARMs are a bad option, but they're a misused option. And you can see that there in the mid 2000s, they were used too much and weren't explained well enough, and it negatively affected individuals. But there is a place for them. Again, it just comes back to education and understanding, might that be a good option for me based on where I'm at currently? So it's not to say ARMs are a bad option. It just means make sure you're informed of what you're getting into, and can you afford that payment? And do you know the consequences when certain timeframes come up? Mortgage payments virtually unaffected. So talked about the cashing out earlier, and you can see here, cash out refinance. You can see in the mid 2000s, a lot of people cashed out and their mortgage payments were affected accordingly. You can see in 2020 and 2021, they're virtually unaffected for the last couple of years. What does that tell me? That tells me that a lot of people aren't taking the equity out of their homes for various reasons, and that's fine, right? But again, just wanted to show that this is a really interesting graph, that people aren't taking that equity out. They're sitting on it, which again is just another indicator and another reason why we're not in a bubble and we're not going to see one. A lot of people have a lot of equity, and even if someone got in a tight spot, they have so much equity, we have such low inventory that they're going to be able to sell that house versus have to foreclose on that house. So again, just a different time, a different market. These are the facts being what they are. Guys, that was it. Wanted to share some information, shed some light on this topic that seems to be a very popular topic, week to week, month to month. Nonetheless, there you go. Hopefully that helps you. Hopefully that can help a friend, a family member. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out at your convenience. I'm here for you, or anybody you may know. So again, I am Nick Gumpert with RE/MAX Top Producers. I'm in Southern California. I'm happy to help any way I can. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.